Hey there, it's Amy from thecrazycraftlady.com. Halloween is quickly approaching and Dollar Tree stores have a ton of Halloween items out right now, but these aren't always my style. So I challenged myself to use all Dollar Tree supplies to replicate the look of some much more expensive Pottery Barn Halloween pieces, and here's what I came up with. These flameless pillar candles from Pottery Barn are super cute, but definitely out of budget, especially for a holiday like Halloween. Luckily, they sell similar flameless candles, battery operated, at Dollar Tree, but they're in white. And they also don't have like the drippy stuff on the side. So we're gonna get creative here with some hot glue and some spray paint. I just used my hot glue gun, and fair warning, you're gonna use a fair amount of hot glue on this. And just apply hot glue right at the lip on the edge at the top of the candle there. And on the first candle that I did, I held it in place, and that was a mistake because the hot glue started to drip at a funny angle. It didn't drip straight down, and I kind of had to use my fingers to kind of rework some of the hot glue and get it to hang the way I wanted to. On the second candle, I got much smarter and I left it just sitting on my work surface and then applied the hot glue right on the edge of the candle, closer to the outside of the outer rim than on the inside, so that it drips down on the outside of the candle. And here is the point in the tutorial where I actually ran out of hot glue sticks. I didn't realize that I was on my last of the thicker of the type hot glue stick. This hot glue gun uses the thicker ones, not the thinner ones. So I had to run to the craft store real quick, panic, and then I was able to finish this candle. And once you have the amount of dripping hot glue that you like, just let all that hot glue dry. Use a little painter's tape and tape off the little faux flame on the candle, because now we're going to spray paint. I just had matte black spray primer in my craft stash, so that's what I used. I thought a matte finish looked better, but just a quick coat of spray paint, and I'm super thrilled with how these drippy black Halloween candles turned out for a fraction of the Pottery Barn price. In addition to the pillar candles, Pottery Barn also has these skull candles, which are also out of budget for people like me. So I decided to make a dupe, and luckily Dollar Tree sells plastic skulls. There's a couple different styles. I just grabbed one of the glow-in-the-dark ones. I also grabbed some black votive candles. I just thought this would be easier since I was going to be spray painting this black anyway, but any type of electric candle will do. Just set that little candle right on top of the skull, centered on top, trace it out with a Sharpie. And then I used my handy pen blade, which I use on a lot of these projects, or any type of razor blade. And friends, please, please, please be careful. I don't want anyone cutting themselves for a craft. It's not worth it. So when I started, I just poked straight up and down a few times until I got a little bit more confident with how much pressure I would have to put on that pen blade to cut all the way through that plastic. And I just cut out that circle. You want to cut it a little smaller maybe than you would think, because when you set that candle in, you want it to stay. You want there to be enough tension around the circle and the skull that the candle stays on its own. So I would say cut the circle smaller than you think you'll need to. You can always make it larger later. And then just apply hot glue all the way around the candle. So you leave the candle sticking, I don't know, half in, half out of the skull, and add hot glue. If you want to just leave it there and let it dry and then add more of the drippy texture hot glue second, feel free to do that. In fact, that may be the smarter route to go, because as you'll see here, I almost had a complete craft fail, but I salvaged it. I think what happened is I added all the drippy hot glue on the side, and then I was like, oh, I want there to be more like drippy on top of the candle, and that added too much weight that as soon as I turned my camera off, my candle fell through right into the skull. And fun fact, friends, if you're in your craft room and like you scream out, oh no, a small child will come running and say, what happened? No, my candle fell through. And so I just ended up popping another candle right in place. And so moral of the story is save the drippy hot glue for the sides, not on top of the candle. It adds too much weight. Okay, so then all that hot glue dried, And from there, you need to be able to access the candle, right? So you have to cut some sort of opening in the bottom of the skull so that you can stick your hand in there and flip the on-off switch on the bottom of that candle. So pen blade again. And I just cut a little slit to make a flap, and then I made 2 more slits to make another flap, just an opening large enough that I could stick my hand in there and flip on and off that little light switch. Oh, and while I was at it, I fished out the other candle that fell into my skull. So, learn from my mistakes, friends. And then once I had the hole in the bottom of the skull cut to the size that I wanted, I then taped off that faux light on the top of the candle, and then grabbed some black spray paint, any type of matte or even a satin finish. I just used black spray primer because that's what I had on hand. Took it outside and gave everything a coat of spray paint. And I think this skull candle looks super cool with my Drippy pillar candles. So happy with how this turned out. This ghost cloche was out of stock last time I looked, but when I was doing some online shopping / snooping, it was in stock, so I decided to try to mimic it anyway. Grab one of these Dollar Tree cloche domes. They're in the regular craft aisle. You can usually get them year-round. You'll need some sort of skewer. I just took a pumpkin stem and I took the skewer off it, and then I popped on a little 1-inch styrofoam ball, and that's going to be the head of our little ghost. Then luckily there's a little hole in the base of that dome, so I was able to poke that skewer through and trim the little wood skewer down to size so that my ghost would be just the right height. And then I realized that little hole in the bottom of the dome wasn't big enough to run my little fairy lights through, so I had to pull out my drill and kind of make that hole just a tad bit bigger so then I could run through some battery operated fairy lights. And you'll see here that I thought I would be able to just set the battery pack underneath that base, but the battery pack was just a hair too thick. So I'll show you at the end, the battery pack is just going to hang out. Unless you want to do something to make that base a little bit taller, feel free. But now it's time to assemble your ghost, and so for that, I just popped a wood bead onto the bottom of my wood skewer, added a dab of hot glue, and set it in place. The wood bead just kind of helps stabilize the skewer a bit. Take your fairy lights, wrap them around. You want some of them wrapped around the styrofoam ball and some kind of hanging down so that you have light evenly distributed under the ghost's sheet. It can be kind of messy. It doesn't have to look perfect here. You just kind of gotta get them all bunched up together with lights fairly evenly spaced. Now it's time to cut the ghost's sheet, and for this I just used a scrap of a flour sack dish towel. Any scrap of thin white fabric will do. You want it to be thin enough that the light kind of shines through. But I took my fabric scissors and I initially cut a square, and I made sure that that was kind of the right size to cover the ghost but not hang too far down over the base, that black base there. And then to cut a circle, it didn't have to be perfect, so I just fold my fabric in quarters and then trim a little arc there, and that makes a good enough, close enough circle that it'll cover my ghost nice and evenly. Then you just want to finish it off by making your ghost face, so I just took a Sharpie marker, 3 little black dots for eyes and a mouth, and you're in business. You can just hang that little circle fabric right over top of your styrofoam ball, pop the cloche dome lid right on it, and you've got a cute little ghost. Now, like I said, my battery pack stuck out, so when I displayed my cloche with my Halloween decorations, I set it on this raised slatted wood decor piece thing so that the battery pack could just sit underneath that and be hidden away. These Pottery Barn Ghost Stoner mugs are super cute, but $15 for a mug, come on, man, that is not happening. Not in my world. Also, you have a ghost mug, but then where do you store it the rest of the year? That's my problem with seasonal mugs. Too much. I have a very small kitchen, it's too much. So I just grabbed some plain white mugs from Dollar Tree, grabbed some black vinyl out of my craft stash. I know not everyone is a Cricut crafter, so I intentionally did not use my Cricut on this. If you want to use your Cricut to cut out a ghost face, feel free, but I just used nonstick scissors, which I use these when I'm cutting tape and vinyl and stuff. Probably not totally necessary, but I just cut 2 ovals for the eyes, and then that funny little kind of wavy triangle shape for a mouth. I did that for both mugs, and then just peel that backing off that adhesive vinyl and put your little vinyl pieces right in place. Perfect for Halloween drinks, cocoa, your fall lattes. And the nice thing is when Halloween's over, you can peel that vinyl right off, super easy, and reuse the mugs for something else. Also on Halloween, I like to make spooky smoothies, which is my super lazy mom way of saying I just put spinach in this smoothie in an attempt to get you to eat a vegetable at breakfast time. So I think for Halloween this year, we're gonna drink our green spooky smoothies out of our ghost mugs. Now this one isn't even a craft, it's just a dollar store dupe. Pottery Barn has these skeleton wine glasses and champagne glasses, but check out these that I found at my local Dollar Tree. Super similar, super cute, and way, way, way cheaper. They also had champagne glasses at my Dollar Tree, but I think I forgot to take a photo of them. Side note, I would love to meet the kind of person who drinks champagne on Halloween. I'm personally more of a mommy's special apple cider in the crock pot kind of a gal, but to each their own, I suppose. This skeleton candy bowl from Pottery Barn is almost $200. Granted, it's huge. Like the dimensions are much larger. I think it's like 18 inches by 19 inches. But we're gonna make a smaller scale version here using a skeleton from Dollar Tree as well as using one of these garden dishes. Usually it's with the florals and like the cloches and the wreath forms at Dollar Tree in that area. So first we just need to trim the top, the little tag off the skull of the skeleton, and then you want to glue everything together. So we're going to use my favorite combination of E6000 and hot glue. E6000 gives you the long-term hold that you want to make this permanent. Hot glue works instantly, so everything kind of holds together and you don't have to hold it in place while it dries. So I just arranged the skeleton the way you like, and then add a bit of E6000. I started on the legs and then moved on to the hands. Just kind of set everything in place the way you want it. For the hands, I didn't even want to wait for the hot glue to dry, so I just taped it in place with a little bit of painter's tape. I let everything sit overnight just to be extra certain, and then removed the tape and came back with some silver spray paint. Took everything outside, gave it a nice coat with this Rust-Oleum metallic spray paint in the color silver. And how cute did this guy turn out? I know the inspiration was a candy dish, but I just filled mine with some black rocks from Dollar Tree and a few little candles. Super cute. And I think this is probably my favorite craft of this whole video. But anyway, here are all of my little DIYs together. They're sitting on the dresser that we have in our living room, kind of by our front door. Also, to prove that Instagram is not reality, here are the jack-o'-lanterns that my kiddos made this weekend as well. We are for sure ready for Halloween in this house, although I'm afraid these jack-o'-lanterns probably will not survive until the 31st, but that's okay. I do hope you enjoyed watching these crafts come together. Until next time, happy making.